Welcome to Karma's Harvest. In today's story, we explore how the fires of greed can burn away the very future we try to steal. When a man decides to betray his own blood for a piece of land, he learns too late that some secrets are written in ink, and once they turn to ash, they can never be reclaimed. The sun sets early over the rolling hills of Blackwood Farm, casting long, skeletal shadows across the weathered barn. For 40 years, Silas Thorne worked this earth, his hands calloused and stained with the dark soil of the valley. He had two sons, Elias, the elder, whose heart was as hard as the winter frost, and Caleb, the younger, who shared his father's love for the land. When Silas felt his breath growing shallow and the light in his eyes fading, he called for his lawyer. He knew Elias's nature, how his eldest looked at the farm. Not as a legacy, but as a prize. Silas wrote a final will, a secret document hidden behind the portrait of their late mother. But Silas wasn't just a farmer in his youth. He had been a prospector, and he had found something beneath the rocky soil of the North Ridge that was worth more than 1,000 harvests. The night Silas passed, the house was silent, save for the ticking of the grandfather clock. Elias didn't mourn. He searched. He tore through the study, his eyes gleaming with a frantic hunger. Behind the portrait, his fingers found the parchment. He read the words with a sneer. His father had intended to split the farm equally, giving Caleb the fertile valley and Elias the rugged, worthless North Ridge. To Elias, this was an insult. If this will disappear, the older, outdated testament would stand the one that left the entire estate to the firstborn. Caleb deserves nothing, Elias whispered to the empty room. He walked to the fireplace. The embers were still glowing a dull, angry red. Without a second thought, without even turning the page to see the hand-drawn map sketched on the back, he tossed the parchment into the flames. He watched as the edges curled and blackened. He watched as the ink that detailed the exact coordinates of a massive gold vein running directly under the North Ridge vanished into smoke. The funeral was a somber affair. Caleb wept for the man, Elias wept for the performance. With the secret will gone, the legal transition was swift. Elias took everything. He kicked Caleb off the land, with nothing but a suitcase and their father's old boots. The farm needs a strong hand. Caleb, Elias had said, his voice devoid of warmth. And you were always too soft for this world. Caleb left without a fight, finding work in the city, carrying the values his father had actually cherished, honesty and hard work. But for Elias, the victory soon began to sour. The valley soil, once so rich, seemed to turn bitter. Droughts hit the farm harder than ever before. Debts began to pile up like dead leaves. To save himself, Elias decided to sell the worthless North Ridge to a mining corporation, just to keep the bank from the door. The surveyors arrived 3 weeks later. As they hammered their stakes into the dry earth, the lead geologist approached Elias with a look of pure astonishment. "Mr. Thorne," the man said, holding a core sample that shimmered with a dull, unmistakable luster. "Did you know what was under here?" Elias frowned. "It's just rock and scrub." "No," the geologist replied, his voice trembling. "It's a motherlode. One of the purest gold veins we've seen in this state. It's worth tens of millions. But the strange thing is, we found an old marking on a deep rock. It looks like someone mapped this out decades ago. There should have been a survey map somewhere. If you had that map, you could have claimed the mineral rights personally, instead of selling the land to us for pennies." Elias felt the world tilt. His breath hitched. He remembered the night of his father's death. He remembered the thick, heavy parchment. He remembered the side he didn't read. He realized then that his father hadn't been punishing him by giving him the North Ridge. He had been giving him a fortune beyond his wildest dreams. But that fortune was now ash. It had gone up the chimney in a cloud of gray smoke, fueled by his own spite. Elias stood on the porch of the house. He had stolen, watching the mining trucks roll in to take the gold that should have been his. He had the land, but he was a beggar. He had the title, but he had no legacy. In the city, Caleb lived a modest, happy life, unaware of the gold. He had lost a farm but kept his soul. Elias had kept the farm, but in his greed, he had burned the only map that could have led him to true wealth. Karma doesn't always take what you have. Sometimes it simply lets you destroy what you were meant to receive. Thank you for joining us at Karma's Harvest. If this story reminded you that the truest riches are often hidden in plain sight, please like and subscribe. Until next time, remember what you sow in greed, you will surely reap in regret.